Yeah, Dr. Mensah here again. Good evening. Yeah, let's explore this particular issue as the wave of uprising and the wave of African independence is cutting across Africa and people are waking up. As from an academic point of view, I always want to bring in my point of view and how we can truly reclaim our independence, right? How do we really claim our independence? Do we have to beg for independence? Do we have to beg for people to allow us to develop our countries? I mean, do we have to beg foreign countries to leave us alone in order to let us be in our place like isolation and develop ourselves? Is it possible? Do we have to go and negotiate for the right to develop? Is that the way forward? The answer is definitely no. We know it. There's no history or there's nothing that we can compare to that. These group of people or nation went to beg, negotiated, and countries left them, others left them alone, and therefore they were able to develop in peace to the state that they want. It has never happened in human history. Right. So as the youth, we are agitating for better governance. Resources of Africa should be used for Africa and everything. We have to bear in mind that we have to fight for what we need. Okay. And we can only fight for these transformative changes that we want if only we know what we have to fight for. All right. If you look through history, empires rise, empires fall. Countries rises and those certain countries misuse their resources and they fall. So Africa, we have to fight to rise. For a long time, for centuries, for thousands of years, we've allowed ourselves to be used for the development of other countries, for others, and not ourselves. We've just been used, our resources have been used and perpetually being exploited. So what's the way forward? What's the way forward? How do we develop Africa? We have to take the fight ourselves. I'm sure most of you have watched the film Wakanda, right? And if you look at the setting of the film Wakanda, three things come out clearly for me. Technological superiority, okay? Technological superiority. Pride in their cultural and their ancestral. The second thing is the pride in their cultural and their ancestral identity. The fact that they want to be uniquely identified as Wakandas, blacks with superior traits, with superior characteristics, and with superior technology. And also, when it comes to the West, the sense of unity and culture. Three things. Technological superiority, they identify their land and they identify the most important treasured weapon or mineral. They call it something beryllium or something, vibranium or something. Yes. The fact that they recognize that technology and they use it for their advantage, and the fact that they were very, very proud of themselves, that who they are, their cultural identity, they kept it. And when they have to fight against invasion and foreigners, they came together to fight. Three things: unity, cultural preservation, and identity, being proud of yourself, and technological superiority. So let's explore the technological superiority first. Okay? We are talking about being able to see aerially above head the entire African. We have to know what is flying above us, who is coming in, what they are doing, what they are spraying, what they are spying, and what they intend to do aerially. From the sea, who is coming in is under the using U-boats, using submarine, using ships, whatever. So above and below the sea or waterways, and then ground invasion. We have to, and I'm not saying we have to go and borrow, we have to go and beg, we have to find a way to develop these weapons ourselves. We have to find a way to oversee what is happening above us in our space, in our airspace. We have to know and be able to protect our sea and waterways, and we have to be able to see and protect our landways. If we don't have the technology, or we cannot start indigenous technologies that will advance to do this, and we have to rely on foreign partners, foreign partners can and will always withdraw certain important technology from us, and we will never be able to get our real sovereignty and independence. So if you look at the Wakandan setting, they were not going to other nations to beg for superior weapons, for superior technology, for superior knowledge. They were relying on themselves. For thousands of years, we've been brainwashed that we cannot do it. We've been brainwashed through our current inferior education, that we have to rely on foreign entities to supply us technology. As I'm talking to you and I'm making this video, all the platforms, social media platform, none of it, at least a vibrant, none of it is being owned by an African. We have 54 African countries. We don't own our internet, the platforms, the servers, the operating systems, the hardware. We don't own anything technologically wise. We don't. We just apply. Somebody will develop a technology and we will just apply it. Remember, all these technologies have backed us, even through this phone that I'm using, which was bought from, I don't want to mention the country, but was bought from there. If they want to get the information and switch this phone off, they can. Right? The entire Africa will rely, when it comes to technology, on others. Yet you want to fight for freedom, fighting for freedom, but you don't want to own your own technology. Now the whole world is going digital. The whole world is going AI. The whole world is going through machine learning. And we are still lagging behind because our politicians, our leaders are not willing and ready to invest so that we retain the best brain on this continent, Africa, to start a basic R&D in digital infrastructure. That we have to own our own digital infrastructure, the operating systems, constructing our own hardware, constructing the infrastructure that will make us autonomous, such that we'll be able to close the back loops and the vulnerability and things that will make us be vulnerable to attacks. If we talk about defense go hand in hand with the current evolution in digital space and technological space, right? So your drone, your plane, your warship, your car, everything can be shut up by the manufacturer who sold it for you and can be made redundant. Why? Because why should he sell you a superior technology for you to use to attack him if you cannot control that? So they will always sell to you the obsolete, inferior technology and things that are not ready for you to defend ourselves. So that's why they don't respect us. Seriously, the foreigners that we are trying to tell them to leave us alone for us to develop our continent in peace will not leave us alone, because they know that the technologies that they've sold to us in millions and billions of dollars are obsolete and inferior. Look at it. They used less than 1 week to destroy Gaddafi's army, which was one of the most powerful army at that time. Less than 1 week, they were able to destroy the army because none of the technology was working, right? And the NATO countries were just coming and bombing and moving away, and the soldiers were overwhelmed. So they have to give up their leader, Gaddafi, up to be killed, because there was nothing indigenous about what they were using money to hold. We saw this also during coronavirus time, that the entire continent, we do not have any protection, we do not have the labs, we do not have anything that is projecting to protect the African species or the blacks. So, I'm bringing the story of Wakanda back. Do you want true independence? Do we want to develop? Do you want economic and resource sovereignty, that we have to use our resources for ourselves and we'll be able to defend it? Then we have to own certain things. And one of the things that we have to develop and devote most attention to attract the African brains, to retain the African brains, is technological sovereignty. Digital technology space, internet, the entire Africa will rely on others. We don't have the service here. Recently, one submarine destroyed an underground cable, and the whole continent, Africa, was suffering in terms of internet speed and connectivity. We don't have the cables in and across Africa. We are actually relying solely, our entire security are in the hands of the foreign entities that we are trying to get our sovereignty from. So that's why a person like Macron will say that they will come back and they will suffer because they know what they are talking about. Because the very thing that we are trying to use to protect ourselves, they gave it to us, and they gave us the inferior one also. So, fellow Africans, yes, we have a long and hard fight ahead of us. A fight for true independence and economic and resource sovereignty, where we will look inwards and develop things for ourselves. Do we have the brains and the human resource on the continent and beyond to do it? Yes, we have it. The only thing is lack of political will and investment into research and development, R&D, and the fact that we are not aiming to retain the best brain and give them all the resources they need to develop indigenous technology. We have to start. We have to start owning our own social media platform, said that our platform can be able to project African voices like ours, like me, that is going against them. They can suppress it. They can tell the algorithm to give it no view. It's not going anywhere because it's going to go against them. Right? So we have to own our internet space, purely African, purely indigenous, promoting African stuff and African sovereignty, and things that, if you use that platform, will bring disunity and distraction, we can then suppress it, isn't it? Then we have to look for what are the ways. The ways the Chinese have shown us the way. The Chinese are no more going to beg for development, or they are not going to, the Chinese have stopped begging for technology. They now are leading technology. The Chinese are using 6Gens and current generation technologies. They used to be like Africa some few decades ago. But now the Chinese are developing their own AI, more advanced, more powerful. They are developing their own chips. They are developing their own weapons. They are developing their own surveillance. They are now also in space. They are not relying on anybody, because that is where true power lies, where you are able to defend yourself and your people and your continent. So do you think, as I'm talking to you, Xi Jinping is afraid of US? No. Is Xi Jinping afraid of any other country on planet Earth? No. Because they are ready, and they are relying on their own technology, not a technology being bought from other countries to defend themselves. No, they are not going to go for inferior technology, waste money on inferior technology. So Africa, leaders of Africa, start thinking about the continent. Let's start. What do we need to come together to start building the basic infrastructure to own our own digital space, to own certain platform that bring Africans together? Even if it's a social media platform which is purely and truly African, with the service and connectivity and everything on the continent Africa, that no country or no continent can shut it down and cut us out. At least let's start from there. Let's start. So you mean 54 countries cannot come together and develop a air defense system from South Africa to Egypt to Ghana to Nigeria? No country can come together for us to come to even start developing basic air defense system. We can't, as a continent. So the whole continent cannot come together to develop basic systems to develop us. We have to always go and buy and borrow. Then we should forget, if that's what we have to do, then we should forget about real sovereignty and freedom, because you are not going to get real sovereignty and freedom, and you are not going to develop if you cannot defend your development. So we have to look at the example of China. China is developing economically, financially, infrastructure-wise, but it's also got the strong military and army to defend their way of life and their technology and their country. They are no more afraid. When it came to coronavirus, yes, it affected them, but they were relying on their own vaccine. Now they are relying on their own air defense system. They are relying on their own air and sea defense system, land defense systems. They are producing their food, and China is bold and looking to the future. So yes, we are protesting, we are supporting our Captain Ibrahim Traore, but let's think ahead, forward thinking. What do we have to do to be truly sovereign and independent and be able to protect ourselves? Let's take a cue from the beautiful movie Wakanda. If you have not watched it, go and watch it. Technological advancement, unity and being proud of who you are, your African ancestry and origin. And when it comes together, we defend ourselves together. Okay, so let's come together and defend our country, our continent, Africa. Wakanda.